Did we start yet or no?
I don't know. Did you?
Yeah, everything's
Oh,
recording.
so whenever you, yeah.
But usually, like, we just kind of
we'll introduce
talk,
you, but
yeah.
we
yeah,
want to
eventually,
cool.
yeah. I feel like it's good to just get it started in the sense of like
everybody's
we're just
comfortable.
talking and yeah, most of our episodes start with us talking about something random, and then we're like, oh, this is our guest. Yeah,
Nice,
exactly.
Cool.
Yeah. No, thank you for doing this, man. This is
thank you guys.
this
Yeah,
means
we
a lot
appreciate
to
it.
us. Thank you for the space.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Awesome space.
Yeah.
So I guess we are going to introduce you, right?
Yeah. That's usually what happens. Is that they're like,
Yeah.
are we recording? Yeah.
So today we're joined by our friend Nick Spencer, the owner and operator of Snake Hill Jiu-Jitsu. We are in Highland, right at their own studio, at his own studio.
We're not gonna want this on. We're gonna have to shut
having
things
a
off.
meltdown about a fan.
Yeah.
Bottom
gonna get
button.
hot in
There
here.
you go.
Yeah.
There we go.
It's gonna get hot in here.
Yeah.
And my AC is not working great.
Yeah. And at the end of it, Nick's gonna choke slam us.
So I mean, like, I guess we are just gonna get right into it today. Like, so if you want, before we'll go back to what we were just about to talk about, but if you want to just give like a brief rundown on who you are and what brought you to here.
Okay, so I'm Nick Spencer. I grew up in New Windsor. I've known you guys since I was a kid.
Mm-hmm.
I got into jiu-jitsu when I was 21 years old. Before that, I was doing Muay Thai, and my first day doing jiu-jitsu, I knew that this is what I want to do. Oh,
We
yeah,
gotta kill
my
the
bad.
music. Sorry. I'm sitting here
Reset,
thinking.
reset.
I'm like, wait a second.
Yeah, so I got into jiu-jitsu, and after my first class, I'm like, this is what I want to do in my life. And it's just an awesome community, and yeah, martial arts is awesome. I feel like it saved me in a way, as corny as that sounds. Everybody says it, but it's true. And then you're in like the people helping business, and that's always awesome. Yeah, so I opened this gym last summer. We're coming up on 1 year. It's a slow build, which I didn't want at first. I wanted a ton of students right off the bat. And then I realized that throwing a bunch of money into marketing and trying to get a bunch of people in here, it's a small space. It's not the ideal way. I like the word of mouth marketing.
Yeah.
One person shows up, they're super awesome. They bring two people, and then before you know it, you have a really good community.
Nice.
That's what I'm trying to build.
Nice.
Yeah, man. I mean, the space is awesome.
Yeah. It's very nice. In here.
I remember when
guys
you
did
were
a
still
great job.
posted about like the Muay Thai stuff, and you were fighting guys.
Yeah,
and,
I started Muay Thai before Jiu-Jitsu. I started
Yeah.
that at 18 years old. And I always wanted to do
Uh-huh.
martial arts. Just didn't have the money until I was an adult, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I started with Muay Thai, and then I actually was fighting Muay Thai, training Muay Thai, and then I ended up doing Jiu-Jitsu, and then I realized, like, all right, this is not getting punched in the head. It's not as bad as Muay Thai. Yeah, for longevity reasons, I started kind of sticking with Jiu-Jitsu, and then I came back to Muay Thai, started teaching that, and now I teach both. So it's kind of like best of both worlds when you train here.
For the people that don't know the main differences between Muay Thai and Jiu-Jitsu, you want to just...
Yeah, so Muay Thai is a striking art. It's kickboxing. It's a lot harder on the brain, and then Jiu-Jitsu is a lot harder on the joints because Jiu-Jitsu is all grappling, wrestling with submissions. And there's more longevity, in my opinion, in Jiu-Jitsu, even though people get injured and stuff, but you can train it into your older age and kind of dial it back. And Muay Thai is just intense, you know, especially if you're trying to fight Muay Thai. There's a lot of injuries. There's so many injuries I've had where it's like, you know, I had my neck fused. So I had my neck fused. I broke my arm, broke my hand, both feet. And all of this was training related or fighting related. So now I'm pretty happy that I just train and coach. I still compete in Jiu-Jitsu, but fighting's not in my future anymore. A lot of concussions too. So yeah, now it's just trying to help others get to that.
Nice, man.
Not the concussions, but
What?
get to fighting and competing and stuff.
Yeah.
What in what way do you kind of you mentioned before we started rolling about how like places like this can be very like testosterone fueled and very chaotic. How have you integrated like I don't want to say the mental health aspect, but just like the mental aspect of...
So like maintaining a good culture is so important. Like I want somebody to walk in here, and if they are just a regular person who works a 9-to-5 job, they've never done anything competitively in their life, and they want to just be part of a community, it's super important to make them feel welcomed. That's how I felt going to my first jiu-jitsu school, you know. Everybody was super awesome. Then you just like, you walk in, you're instantly best friends with like 20 people, all walks of life too. There's a joke in jiu-jitsu that like, You could be training with a police officer, a criminal, a doctor. Like, you don't know who you're going to train with, but everybody is on the mat and everybody's equal. So I try to maintain that regardless of, you know, male, female, child, adult, like everybody should feel like there isn't, you know, pressure. Like they could just show up, they're not being judged. And I try to maintain that every single day. Culture for me is like over everything, you know.
Yeah. When we sat down with Manny, he talked a lot about the community that develops in these kind of gyms and the camaraderie that you get. How do you think that's benefited you and the people in your classes?
It's crazy. Like I've seen people show up on the mat and then they get married 5 years later. You know, you can meet your significant other. I met my girlfriend at a jiu-jitsu class. I was going to, I went up to a gym in Catskill to teach a class, and then before you know it, 2-3 weeks later, I'm dating the girl that I'm dating now. So it's awesome. Every jiu-jitsu school needs 10 Mannies. He's the type of guy that if you show up with like an ego and you're testosterone driven, you're just trying to beat people up, he's going to beat you up in a very nice way and then kind of like put you in timeout. And then also, if you're a woman taking your first class, he's going to make sure you feel comfortable. He's going to work with kids. So like, I look at Manny and I'm like, damn, that's what I want to be, you know? So like, that's why me and him are so close.
Yeah, I think that's so interesting that like some of the most gentle people that you'll meet are also like I think from the outside looking in, stuff like this is considered to be very like toxic masculine.
Yeah, and you know,
just like the reputation of it, especially if you're not like familiar with it.
Just like anything else, every single gym has its own like vibe to it, right? So I've been to gyms where I've walked in and I'm like, this place sucks. Like, I don't want to be here at all. Everyone's standoffish, nobody's talking to you. And then I've been to gyms where it's like super welcoming right away. And yeah, I definitely want to be the second. I don't want to be that gym where you walk in, you feel like you got to go to war with these guys who you know, are on steroids and trying to beat you up.
Yeah, I feel like that's what I think about when, like, before I used to be so focused on like getting like, with any type of business, like getting the best type of deal or getting the most knowledge. But then like, you realize like now if I'm like I'm working on like figuring out an accountant and I just want somebody who has like good energy, and I don't care if I got to pay $50 more. And I think that applies here, that it's just like, if you're providing something where people feel welcome, that's more valuable than, in my opinion, really any like knowledge that you could give them.
Yeah. And then like, if you are passionate about it, the money's going to come eventually. So I feel like trying to chase money and trying to, you know, you have to be a businessman at the end of the day, but you don't want to be like trying to just get to people's wallets, because they're so used to that. Everywhere you go, somebody's trying to get money from you somehow. And unfortunately in the Northeast, it's like every single person you meet is trying to get something from you, you know? So yeah, I try to just be really cool and let everybody just kind of come in. And yeah, like I said, maintain that culture of everyone's welcome. Everyone's going to feel like they're learning real martial arts, but at the end of the day, it's like they're here to just relieve their stress from day-to-day life.
Yeah, everybody needs that kind of outlet, something that they can find, that they can tap into, that helps them break away from the day-to-day fatigue that you'll go through from just like everyday grinding you down, you know? It's important to have something like that.
And it's not just jiu-jitsu. That's one thing too, where like people be like, you need jiu-jitsu, you need to train jiu-jitsu. You have running, right? So you run every single day, and it's just that healthy physical outlet. Like it could be anything.
Yeah, you got to find your edge, man.
You have to. Yeah.
What do you think the benefits are for you personally in terms of mentally, and maybe like from when you started to now? Because obviously you weren't teaching when you started doing
It's extremely humbling. Like when I showed up to jiu-jitsu for the first time, I thought I was going to be like this badass, and then I just got like, you know, guys 100 pounds lighter than me beating me up, and I'm like, damn, this is different, you know? And jiu-jitsu is very humbling, and I feel like you see people come in on their first day, and then like, not that they necessarily get beat up, but they realize that with technique, somebody a lot smaller, like somebody a lot weaker can beat you, and everybody has a neck, you can get choked. So you realize real quick.
That's a good saying. I like that.
You realize real quick that, damn, this is different, you know? So to me, I think it kind of got rid of my ego a little bit. And I realized that I wasn't as bad of a dude that I thought I was. And then as you start getting more skilled, you kind of remain humble, because you're like, there's always someone out there who's going to beat you. And on any given day, you know, I'm a brown belt in jiu-jitsu. I've been training 12 years. But I've had white belts come in here and tap me. It happens. Like sometimes you give them a position and see what they're going to do, and then boom, they're jumping on your neck and tapping you. And it, you know, it's kind of rare, but it does happen. You got guys coming in who have wrestled their whole life and you don't know until they're on the mat, and then you're grappling them and you're like, damn, I'm in a fight, you know? And then you have other people that come in that have been training a long time that for whatever reason haven't gotten as good. And people try to protect their ego and, like, you know, if you're a more experienced grappler, say, you don't want to go with the newer guy, or you want to like try to teach them instead of just grappling and letting it happen. And for me, like, my ego is never protected. I tell all my students, like, when we're training, so on Wednesdays we have this thing called King of the Hill. We all lay down on the mat and like everyone starts in guard position, which is on your back. And it's a constant rotation through of basically first to score. If I roll somebody over, I stay in. By minute 20, I'm shot. And there's a white belt in here trying to kill me. And I love it. I say that, I'm like, man, I deserve to die on my shield just like everybody else. Yeah. Don't take it easy on me. If I look like I'm about to throw up and I'm sweating, take it to me, you know? Yeah. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's humbling every single day, even as long as I've been training. Mm.
Yeah, I feel like humility and ego is such a big thing, like connecting you to your physical, like whatever physical activity it is that you choose to do. Yeah. And then this to me is like a level up, because you don't want to hurt other people, but you also have to have like that competitive edge.
Yeah, you have to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man. It's like it's an impressive sport to watch. Like when people get really, really good at it, like you can't really tell, you know, from the outside looking in. Like you wouldn't know. Like it just looks like a chill guy, and then you get him in, you get going, and bang, just like that.
I'm glad I at least have the right cauliflower ear on the right side. Some people can tell sometimes, but outside of that, they just like, I just look like a regular guy. I'm like, that's cool.
That's a good point, though.
Man. What do you think are some of the biggest lessons that Jiu-Jitsu has taught you?
I would say one thing is the importance of networking. Mm-hmm. You never know who you're going to meet here. Like, I've had multiple job opportunities just by showing up here and training, getting to talking to people. Naturally, I'm kind of an introvert, and Jiu-Jitsu has made me an extrovert. And at first, it was like forced. I didn't want to. I had to force myself to talk to people. I'm like, this is exhausting. Then now as a business owner, I'm like, when someone walks in the door, I want to be the first person that they see. If they end up training for 10 years, I want to be like, damn, I met this person when they walked in and didn't know anything. They were just walking by the street to get a slice of pizza. Now they're a student here. And then, you know, maybe one day they're going to own their own gym. So I think, it's like, also it made me a lot less judgmental, because you have people walk in here, all walks of life. You don't know their story. Then you slowly start to figure them out and figure out why they're here, the things that they've been through. And then it kind of like changes the way you look at people in general. Yeah. Those are like the two biggest things: the importance of networking and then not being judgmental.
So you've had this gym for about a year now, but you've been teaching for a while?
I have, yeah. So I've been teaching, probably almost 10 years now.
Okay. Yeah. I'm curious to know what that felt like in the beginning when you first made the move to, I can like show people how to do this, and then ultimately feeling like I want to start my own community. Because I think when people open their own businesses and they start like trying to do their own thing, there's a lot of, am I built for this? Did you experience that going from like, just because I'm good at this doesn't mean that I can do this, but at the same time, you always had like the culture in mind?
Yeah, it's trial and error. Like when I first started teaching, I started teaching with Muay Thai first, which like, you know, kickboxing. Yeah. And I just wanted to teach fighters. I was like, I just want to, you know, run a fight team and all that. And then I start realizing fighters don't have money. Fighters also, like, you know, are inconsistent. And then everyone shows up and they're like, I'm going to be in the UFC one day. And when people say that, you're just like, this guy's going to last 1 week. It's like an ongoing joke. But then I've had people come in who didn't want to fight at all. They just wanted an outlet. And then they trained every single day. And then boom, they're taking fights, you know? Like we were talking about Manny, bringing him up again. I met him when he was 16 years old, and then I cornered him in his first MMA fight. He won very easily. And like the 16-year-old Manny that walked in, and then Manny now, it's not the person that you would never have thought that he turned into that person. So Yeah, I think, like I said, it's all trial and error. When I first started teaching, I wasn't the best. I'm still not the best at all. And there's a ton of great instructors in this area too. But I think what I try to push is how welcoming everyone is here, how it's not judgmental. There really isn't like a hierarchy. Even if there is, it's kind of just expected. This person's been training this long, like, you know, but there's not like, oh, you know, bow to me, I'm the master type of thing. So I don't have that because I came from team sports. We're playing football growing up my whole life, you know, so it's like with football, you see that the team works together. There's really, there's a coach, but the importance of having team captains and stuff like that. So I view it like kind of like a sports team when you come here. Like the people that are teaching the class, they're the equivalent to the team captains, follow suit. And some people don't fit in. Some people show up and then for whatever reason, they don't mesh well. Most of the time, they kind of just find themselves out the door. Or you have to sit down and talk with them and be like, listen, you know, you're coming here and you're trying to beat the shit out of people. You got to calm down, you know, which does happen once in a while. And it's a constant, you're constantly putting out small fires when you're in the martial arts business.
How do you deal with like taking that personally? Because I would imagine that when people go out looking for a gym like this isn't what they're looking for. You know what I mean? Like they're looking for the chaos and like the beating the shit out of people all the time. Like
I feel like people think that's what
it's
they're
like.
looking for.
It's like even though like you could consider any jiu-jitsu gym to be the same or the same concept, like yours is going for a different thing than what maybe somebody else is different. And then maybe they're not even necessarily aware of what they're attracting in. But and how do you know like when somebody walks away, because I'm sure you've had plenty of people who come in, walk out the door, and you never see them again. How do you understand that like no, like this is our identity and that's okay if people don't?
I think for the most part you have to let people go. Like when people come in and they don't fit, when I first started I was kind of like, oh, we have to make sure this person stays, and then you realize like that person's gonna leave, another person's gonna come back. What sucks is when somebody leaves and you know they're a really good person and you know jiu-jitsu is really good for them. And those are the people I try to stay in contact with and not forget. Because you build a lot of like friendships here, and then before you know it, they're gone. And it's like, I'm not going to see this guy at all anymore. It's kind of, I was in the military for 6 years, so it's the same thing. I had so many good friends in the military and we don't talk at all because it's like I don't get to see this person on a daily basis. So for the most part, when people come in with a bad attitude, they kind of see themselves out. Once in a while, you have to show them the door. But people will show up on their first day with a certain ego. And then once they're on the mat and they realize it's not what they thought, they kind of just blend in with the crowd. And then before you know it, you start to really figure out who they are, you know?
I think that's a really cool culture to have. What you were talking about before that is just like there's no hierarchy here. Like it's nice that you can go to a gym and you don't have to just learn one-on-one from you. Like you can be sparring with somebody or training with somebody and learn something just from that person, from that interaction. And it's important for other people to like understand that that's the culture here and like we're all here to help each other get better.
And I lucked out because at my gym I have a handful of guys that have all been training like almost as long as me, and we all have the same vision. So I co-own the gym with my brother, and me and my brother were close growing up, but we didn't really become like best friends until he started training jiu-jitsu. And he started training, I think 6 years ago now. And as much as like, you know, I love him and we're best friends, when we're on the mat and we're trying to grapple each other, we're trying to kill each other. It's like, it takes me back to like when, you know, he's 2 years older than me, but then I have double the experience on the mat. But then some days he just beats the hell out of me. I can't do anything. And it's like, it's frustrating, but he's a rarity. He's obsessed. You know, he's always been like that, whether it's basketball, running, lifting weights, now it's jiu-jitsu. He's 100% all in. And I have to go to war with him every day. And we just laugh about it sometimes. Like, sometimes he'll choke me, he'll tap me, I'll tap him, and then we'll just like get pissed for a second and then like laugh at each other. Like, damn, this is our life now. This is what the next 30 years are going to be like. We're going to be, you know, we're going to be 60 years old trying to kill each other on the mats, and we're going to have kids on the mats training with us too.
It's awesome, man.
That's awesome to have that.
So you want to go back a little bit more? Let's dive into what your experience in the military was like. The 6 years that you spent there, coming out of it, and like your reassertion back into life.
So it was.
I feel like that's a big process.
It was a roller coaster. I was in the military for 6 years, from 2015 to 2021. I was a military police officer, and I had like, I had a ton of pride in being in the Army, and it was cool, but I had a bunch of things happen that kind of derailed my military career. 1 year into being in the Army, I had a really bad neck injury. I had to get my neck fused, and then while I was doing that, I was still trying to fight MMA and fight Muay Thai on the side and compete in Jiu-Jitsu. So, that was tough. I had to deal with that. And then, the military was cool. My unit was awesome. I was out of Brooklyn, the 107th MP company. Where the military kind of derailed for me was during COVID, which was towards the end of my contract, right? So, I was in 2020, I was assigned to this mission where basically when all the COVID deaths were occurring, or just deaths in general, the morgue in New York City was getting overran. My detail that I was assigned with, I worked overnights, and I had to go house to house picking up dead bodies. Oof. For whatever reason. So It wasn't like just COVID deaths, murder, suicide, whatever, overdose. And I saw a lot of death in the summer of 2020. And that kind of put a bad taste in my mouth with the military. And I know, like, PTSD, people get in the military from going overseas, but I feel like I essentially saw so much death that I have PTSD now. And it turned into heavy drinking, and now it's been 4 years since I've been out of the military. It's been 4 years sober without having a drink. So it was tough. That summer was definitely testing. I feel like I hit the bottom, and getting out of the military was the right choice for me. People stay in and they make a career, which is awesome. I wish I could have done that, but the situation I was put in, I realized, like, okay, I need to do something else. And that's when I started building towards this.
I think that's something a lot of people in the military might struggle with, is knowing that it's okay to go do something else. Where do you think you found that strength from? Because they very much put you in a lifestyle, correct? Like, you are accustomed to a certain lifestyle, and this is the way it is. And how did you come about making that switch?
I never lost the martial arts community, even when I was going through all that stuff in New York City when I was in the Army. The second I had a day off, I would drive up here, go to Evolution and Beacon and train. And I would drive, 2 or 3 hours back just to get a training session. I'm like, man, I just want to get out of the Army for a few hours and then hang out with these guys that, I've been so cool with for all these years. And then it gave me that outlet to talk about it. So I started telling people, like, this is what my summer's been. It's been hell. Like, we're just literally going house to house, picking up dead bodies. I was working for the coroner's office, the chief medical examiners, going to houses or going to hospitals where there's dead bodies, taking pictures and then physically loading them into bags, taking them to the New York City morgue, which has, anywhere from like 2,000 to 3,000 frozen bodies in a giant warehouse. So my shift was, you're either on the, house calls where you're just waiting in a rental van with a team and you're going to and from, or you're working at the actual morgue and you're taking the bodies out of the freezers, making sure they have the right tags, sending them out. So it was like, when it was happening, I was making sure everybody was laughing, I was trying to make a good time out of it. But then I started realizing, once I got out of that mission, how much it affected me. I'm like, damn, I'm drinking. I was working overnights, and I realized something needed to change. And then when it was time for me to get out of the military, that's when I realized that there isn't really a great integration process once you're out of the military. You're kind of just, that's it, see ya. If you want to come back, let us know. And you're just sent out there. So martial arts was a great community for that. If not, I'm sure I would be drinking and kind of bottling up all this stuff that I had inside me. And now I have a community of people that are actually here for you. Like, if I call somebody and I'm like, I'm going through something, I have a list of 30 people I could call that will drop whatever they're doing to help me. And I feel like people don't have that. And that's what, the biggest benefit once I was getting out of the military that martial arts had for me.
Nice, man.
That's amazing. Yeah. That's crazy. Like, everybody thinks about the ways that, like, all the different ways that COVID impacted our lives, but then you realize something like that where you were doing something completely different and now all of a sudden, like, people like us were kind of like removed from the like the scale or like the, you know, just blatantly like the death that was happening. And you were like right there in it, and that just sounds like so intense to me. And then to like, how do you deal with regular life then? Because it's like, I would imagine that in some way you feel like, what's important when, like, this is what I'm seeing all the time. Like, how do I find joy in life when I'm surrounded by this morbidity? And
New York City during COVID was insane, because it wasn't just the COVID situation. It was also like the protests. Like my unit that I was assigned to had company, like we had cars, like rentals, military rentals, getting set on fire, because you had the protesters going up and down the street. Every single time we would leave the hotel in our uniforms, people were throwing shit at us, trying to fight us. So we weren't allowed to wear our uniforms in public. And it was just, I didn't think it was going to go back to normal. I was like, this is the new normal.
I think everybody thought that.
Yeah. And then it was kind of, you know, I have my own thoughts on COVID, but at first when COVID happened and I was assigned to work COVID details, it was like, you know, X amount of people are going to die. X amount of percentage of the country is going to die. So then you're in that and you're thinking that.
And then you're also surrounded by it. Like you're going around bodies that have it, like, or that had it or whatever.
Yeah. So, and then you realize that, you know, everybody has their own thoughts on COVID, but it wasn't what they made it, but it was still was something.
Yeah.
And then I went from that to working at the morgue and doing that. And I did that for, I don't know how many months, maybe like 2.5 months, but you're talking 6 to 8 bodies a night I would have to go get. And there's people die all types of ways in New York City. So everything you could imagine I've seen.
Yeah.
And then after that, once I got out of that mission, it was kind of just like, I was sent to a military base just to work security. And I'm like, I'm not normal right now. You know, like I need to talk to somebody, but then my ego wouldn't let me at the time. I'm like, no, just bottle it up. And you can only do that so much before you hit rock bottom. And I feel like I did. And then the one thing that did save me was the martial arts community.
Yeah, we want to definitely talk to you too about, you had mentioned plant medicine, ayahuasca.
Yeah.
That was a big part of it. And it, based on your timeline of what you told us, that like that was right around the time where you came out of the military and you were trying to integrate yourself back into like a normal life. What was like, I'm very curious because like I'm just curious about that kind of stuff in general, but I'm curious what was going through your head when you felt like it would help you, and also how you went from, because I think a lot of people think of it as like an idea. That like, and you don't know what to expect, and that getting to know your real self better can be very scary.
It is.
How did you approach it, and then what do you feel like it's done for you since?
So I've done ayahuasca 4 times now, and yeah, it's kind of, I'm glad that people are talking about ayahuasca more, because the first time I did it was 2021, and when I brought it up to people, they were like, "Whoa, that's crazy." You know what I mean? Now it's, you start hearing, you know, Aaron Rodgers talking about ayahuasca.
I'll do cocaine 5 days a week, but ayahuasca's insane.
Right? And then we all have our vices. People can go out and get drunk every single weekend.
Say alcohol, whatever.
But if you do ayahuasca once every 5 years, you're crazy.
You're a fucking drug addict.
Yeah, so it's very interesting. I do view it as plant medicine. People have their own thoughts on that, which I understand.
Yeah.
But yeah, now that people are talking about it more, you have, you know, Aaron Rodgers, George St. Pierre just did a podcast talking about doing ayahuasca. And like his
was very good.
Yeah, and he's he was the most straight edge fighter of all time.
Yeah.
And then he did that, and he had his own thoughts on it. And then there's been other people, so I feel comfortable talking about it. I was at a point in my life where I had a good friend kind of pitch it to me. I was just in the car with him one day, and I was just explaining to him like things that I've gone through, and like, you know, he just pitched it to me and asked me if I've ever done it or ever heard about it. I was like, yeah, I've heard about it. And he's like, okay, well, I've done it a bunch of times. I could set you up. I could help facilitate. And he did. And it was a real life altering experience. Ayahuasca is not one of those things that you do to like trip out because it's fun. It's in the moment, it's not enjoyable, but it's what you get after. And it's something that I feel like I'll always do when it calls me, whether it's 10 years from now or 20 years from now, or, you know, next month, who knows? But it's kind of, it's changed me 100%. It's definitely made me realize that if I have issues, I need to I need to put them on the table and deal with them now, because there's no escaping it when you are doing ayahuasca. It's like you're sitting there for hours and you realize that you have to let go in order to heal. And I feel like when people have a bad experience doing something like that, they're probably doing it in the wrong setting with the wrong facilitators, which is, a whole nother conversation, or they're going there with a certain ego and they're still trying to protect their ego and they're not fully letting go. When you fully let go and you realize, you start seeing things for what they really are, I mean, the benefits are immense. I think if anybody suffers from PTSD, especially guys in the military, they should look into plant medicine, not just ayahuasca, mushrooms, ibogaine, all the stuff that is being studied now at universities. I think in 10, 20 years, it's going to be not part of the norm, but it's going to be a solid option for these people.
Yeah, no, we're both big on mushrooms. And I know mushrooms, for me, like you said, it's all about the intention that you go into it with. Like, well, I've done mushrooms before where I was younger and I just wanted to trip balls. And guess what? It was an awful experience. And then you you kind of hold on to that fear for a little bit. But if you let it go and you try it again and you go in with intention, I've been able to work through a lot of trauma just because I know what I'm going there for. And I feel like that's very important with ayahuasca, is you have to be this is the way for me right now. I'm called to it. Let me put all my intention here. Because with mushrooms too, I'm not I'll microdose here and there, but I feel like you said, you need to be called to something like that, because it's
not for everyone too. If you don't need it, don't go, experiment. I feel like it's for dealing with a certain amount of trauma, and you're looking at these things and they're natural. So when people try to suppress these emotions with pharmaceuticals, right? How many people are walking around every single day on antidepressants, and that's just normal to them, and that's what the doctors pitch to them, and they're numbing themselves. But you can go have one experience using natural medicine, and then you're good for life. And people don't believe that that's an option, but it really is.
Wow.
It's crazy. You hear it time and time again. Somebody will do mushrooms or do ayahuasca or any of these other things, and then they're good. They got rid of whatever whatever issue they had.
I feel like plant medicine gets you to the issue, and it's up to you to get through it. Medical, taking pills and stuff like that, does nothing but numb it out and gives you a way to avoid it, which is why a lot of people go out and drink every night. Why a lot of people do drugs is just to avoid the problem. You're not approaching it or actually trying to figure out what it is. You're just suppressing it. And with plant medicine is just here's your fucking problem. What are you going to do about it?
And then it's dealing with the problem after you've just been given that roadmap. And you're like, damn, do I need to leave this relationship? Do I need to quit this job? Do I need to uproot my life? And then people will suppress that even more and be like, no, don't listen to it. You were high on drugs or whatever. And it's no, I think that's your real inner thoughts. How many people go through life just suffering in a relationship that they hate, working a job that they hate, and being a person that they truly hate, and they just drown it with alcohol and prescription medication and hard drugs. And it's crazy. It's crazy to think that for a long time these plant medicines were viewed as worse than those things, which is couldn't be further from the truth.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I've been interested in it for years, but I'm curious to just get a little deeper on that, in terms of what that felt like when you did it, and then how you were able to integrate that into a part of your daily life. Because I think maybe the problem, I've never done it, but I think that the problem that maybe some people have with it is that they think that one experience or that one trip to Peru or whatever it is going to fix everything. But like you said, it's deeper than that, and you have to integrate it into your life. In a way, what was told to you when you did it that allowed you to now have the life that you have now, man. and how different it is?
Before that, I always wanted to be in control. I was like that, I was in the military. I'm a fighter like this. I need to be in control of the whole room. I need to go everywhere with a gun on me. I wear all black. I'm trying to look tough. There was a whole ego to me, which was all my own insecurities. Yeah. And then I realized I was basically theoretically and physically brought to my knees through this medicine. Wow. And I felt like I had to let go. And obviously, people don't know this, but when you do ayahuasca, a lot of times you have to purge. It's a lot of throwing up.
I've done enough research on it that I know that.
Throwing up and crying and, you know.
Yeah. That sounds...
and whatever else.
Yeah.
So like I said, it's not a super enjoyable experience,
Mm-hmm.
but it's what you get out of it. And it changed me completely. I'm like way less judgmental. I used to like truly dislike people. Like I could even say I hated a few people.
Yeah.
And it's crazy to me now because now I could see good in almost everyone, even if they're mostly bad. You know, this person is that, but oh, at least they're a good father. This person is that, but oh, at least they're a good husband or whatever. And yeah, it made me realize, it made me see the good in most people. There's some people that obviously, you know, I feel like aren't fixable. They're just going to be the way that they are. But
I feel like that's a choice though sometimes.
It is.
That it's just like you tell yourself that you can't be fixed, so therefore you create that reality.
And then you start looking at somebody and you realize their problems and how irrational they act, and then you think, what brought them to this? Is it a chemical imbalance in their brain, or is it just they're just generally a bad person, or did they experience something?
Yeah, and I think also probably what it sounds like you're talking about is that like nothing is ever as clear as you think just in your own mind.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. So, yeah, it was a real like life-altering experience for me, and I feel comfortable talking about it now. I've always felt like up until recently I couldn't. And the first time I did ayahuasca, I came back and I wanted to tell everyone, you know. Yeah. And that's also not a good thing either.
Were people like asking you like, oh, what like you seem was that happening?
That was definitely happening, and then also, yeah, you would just have these moments where you're like, damn, this is definitely my experience is making me view this a different way.
Oh, wow.
I remember I did ayahuasca and then I met somebody through jiu-jitsu, and then it was like, you know, my first month meeting him, and we're just like kind of talking. And I was like, I wanted to ask him if he's ever done ayahuasca, which is the weirdest thing. And it's like, we weren't even talking about that. And something made me ask him, and I was like, you ever done ayahuasca? He's like, dude, I went to Ecuador last year and I did. I was like, what? Like, what made me ask that?
Yeah.
And so there's moments like that where you could definitely, you know, feel someone's aura and their vibe, and then kind of like you realize that they've gone through a similar experience as you.
I feel that way in this room, like when we walked in the door, because we, like you said, we've known each other for a very long time.
Yeah, but it's different this time around.
The energy is just like completely like I feel like we both were like very like masculine men. Like I need to be like the alpha all the time. I know I carried myself that way.
Yeah.
But I feel like when we all walked in the room, it was just like, we're all just here to talk about shit that most people won't talk about.
Yeah. And you know what's funny is like, I obviously grew up with you guys, but we were never like in the same friends group. We were like friend of friends type of thing.
Yeah.
And yeah, I would see you running by my parents' house all the time in the winter, and I'm like, damn, this guy's getting after it. This is awesome. It would like hype me up, you know? Yeah. And then, you know, I went to your stand-up comedy thing you did in Beacon. I'm a huge fan of stand-up comedy.
Yeah.
So
I thought that was so cool that you were there.
Yeah, dude. I was like
I don't even know Nick
and
that well.
You know what sucks? I really wanted to get up there too.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Because I would love to do like some open mics, but it's kind of like I got to get there. But yeah, what's funny is
you're only one ayahuasca trip away from it.
Right? Face a new fear.
Yeah.
What's funny is
just stand up, just whispering in your ear.
I remember when Steven was bartending in Beacon. I saw you a few times when you were bartending.
Yeah.
I remember one time, this is like probably 2020, 2021, like towards
probably so coked up.
Towards the tail end of me drinking, when I was like, all my problems were at the forefront, and I was like, I saw you and I was like, yo, what's up, man? And then you were just like, what's up? And I got so mad and I was like, fuck that dude, bro. And meanwhile, I'm drunk, you're probably drunk or whatever. Yeah. And you're working and who knows what you were going through. And I remember thinking like, for like a while, I was like, I would see you like in passing. I'm like, man, fuck that guy. He didn't want to talk to me that day, which is so hilarious because that's my ego, you know?
Yeah, no, and I get it 100%, like, because I know, like, back then, like, I was just always thinking of, like, what's next, just trying to be on the go, like, how am I going to continue this high, and how do I stretch this out so I don't get into, like, that darker space, and, like, most of the time, those things just bring you to that darker space, 100%. Like, a lot faster.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, it's crazy to see, like...
That's awesome that, like, that's what I love about this podcast is that, like, we can be honest about stuff like that, where you can just be like, and not, like, a couple years ago, you'd take that super personally. And
Yeah.
be like, what the...
Now I'm like, yeah, you're right, man.
So would I. Yeah, exactly.
Meanwhile, I'm there, I'm drunk, and I'm probably like, you know.
That we can just be, I appreciate that kind of honesty. That's awesome.
Yeah,
like,
that's for sure.
I actually,
Fuck that, dude.
Yeah, I was thinking about that today. I'm like, I got to bring this up because that's funny.
Yeah.
My favorite Nick Spencer story that I always think of is the time we were kids at my house, and like he went to go outside onto the back deck, just went right through the fucking screen door.
Right through the
It was
screen
like
door.
the third time the screen came off in a week. My dad was pissed.
Oh man, yeah, I had a pitcher of lemonade in my hand. I just walked right through it. dropped
Picture of lemonade makes it 10 times funnier.
Just picture a 12-year-old me, or whatever, probably 13-year-old me, just spilling lemonade in someone's kitchen, going right through their screen door.
Yep.
I remember my dad found out. He was so pissed. I went home and he's like, "You need to go over there and fix it. We're going to Home Depot. We're buying a new screen door." I'm like, "Dad, I don't think it's that serious." Oh man.
Wow, that's crazy, man.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, those are good times when we were kids. We were just like, kids don't hang out like that anymore. We would just walk the neighborhood, ride our bikes. We would play baseball, basketball, football, whatever.
We were really the last ones, I think.
We were the last
we were right on the edge. Like
that was our neighborhood. It was like if you drive through that. I go through the neighborhood all the time.
Yeah.
Like when I'm at my parents.
There's no kids.
Dude, never. I'm the only one out.
You ever think about though, like what? It's so interesting to me, like what we were. Like, I can't even, like, think about, like, why I chose to be friends with people or not.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, I don't think I factored anybody's, I mean, you're a kid, but, like, I don't think I factored anybody's, like, character in, or what they were doing.
It's like, oh, this kid lives 2 houses down. We're best friends.
Yeah, exactly, right? Like,
convenient.
Yeah.
My mom said you were my best friend.
Yeah, I always think about
That's
stuff
100%
like that.
what it was like.
Exactly. And that someone who you could, like, be saying fuck that person about or not be friends with or whatever, that then could become a really good friend later on in life.
It's crazy too, because I feel like every 5 years your friends group kind of rotates, but you always have the same 1 or 2 that stick around all the way through.
Yeah.
And people change. It's like I said, every 5 years it seems like my friend group completely changes. But then I always have the 2 or 3 that are like my best friends. I could talk to them, and then even if we don't talk for a full year, I can see them. We don't miss a beat.
Yeah, those are the really important relationships to like always develop. Zach Maxwell's like that for us. Like I talk to Zach all the time because of WWE, but like me and Zach make it a point to like try and hang out as much as we can, because there are like JP, Joe Fry, like I'm sure you could guess the guys that I'm like still kind of close with, like you know what I mean? Like, well, you keep things change around you, but there's always things that are still always.
And even if you're not as close now, you can like really appreciate like how close you were with someone. Like me and you are very blessed. I feel like very few people our age have a friend that I've been friends with him for 20 years.
Most people don't, right? It's kind of sad.
Yeah, exactly. But like you can also like that makes you appreciate, like Zach and I aren't as close as we used to be, but like I can still appreciate like how close we were when we were in high school and in college. That like it doesn't mean that a friendship has to be over just because it's not like it was when you were 17. Like if our friendship was like what it was when we were 15, we would be, you know what I mean? That would be a mess of a friendship.
If it was like we were in our 20s, we definitely wouldn't be friends.
No, definitely not.
You know, like we lived together.
Yeah. We lived that out. We lived that out live and direct, you know?
Yeah. It's kind of crazy too, looking back, how many kids we grew up with that never really grew up. And then you can only do that for so long. We're in our 30s now. And it's nothing cool about going out and getting drunk every night. There's nothing cool about, you know, doing coke and doing drugs. And then look at how many kids that we know that have gone through serious problems, whether with drugs or, you know, we've grew up with kids that aren't here anymore. That were good kids at heart, and then they just got looped into this drug thing. And it's crazy. I talk about it all the time sometimes with like my students here. I'll tell them like, man, I played football for Newburgh, and like looking at the kids that I play with, there's like 5 or 6 that aren't here anymore. You know what I mean? Within like a year above, a year below, and then my grade. And it's like, damn, that's crazy. We're not supposed to be dying that young. And some of it's drug related, some of it's whatever else. And how many people do we know that ended up in jail too? It's crazy.
Because they don't have outlets like this to find. You don't find that outlet somewhere for you to develop and grow outside of what you. Everybody has their own trauma, but you do have to have a space to grow and develop and figure out, because we develop our traumas when we're young most of the time. Sometimes they happen a little bit later in life, but like when it happens to you, you're not developed enough to work through it. So you have to find something that helps you grow yourself so you can get around that. And a lot of people, I feel like, especially in Newburgh where we grew up, just that there weren't those outlets. If you didn't play sports, like you weren't like, there wasn't anything else offered to you.
It's true.
I feel like it's such a journey to like, I mean, I feel like all three of us are on it in that way of just like figuring out what the like replacement is for your like social fulfillment and like having fun and like your like you talk about like identity, like your identity was, I don't care about my feelings, I'm a tough guy, I'm in the military, all these things, and that's very removed from who you are now.
Yep.
Like, how do you feel like you became comfortable with your identity of being that? And being like, because I feel like one of the things I struggle with is now I don't drink alcohol, so now I'm not fun. Or now I don't, or now I don't bartend in a restaurant and have all these friends and people coming to see me. That must mean I'm not fun now.
Yeah.
And like discovering what it means to like be who you are, and that it's okay to be something different, and you can still love that person that you were when you were doing the stuff that wasn't best for you, that you built your personality around.
Yeah. And I feel like what you were saying about like, you know, I don't drink, I'm not fun. You're going to lose friends because of that, which is like, were they really even your friends? You know, you got to ask yourself that. Like, man, when somebody hits me up and they're like, are you free Sunday? Let's go fishing. Let's go for a hike. That's my equivalent of like Friday night. Let's go get drunk. Yeah. I'm like, yeah, dude, I'm down. That's awesome. That sounds great. I feel like with the identity thing, once I realized that my life was spiraling and I was holding on to like this person that I wanted people to perceive me as, that's the biggest thing. I feel like I walked around and I wanted to be perceived a certain way, which, you know, it never really works out. People are going to have their own thoughts about you. And then they could also just tell that you're being fake in general. Like if you're trying to walk around and be perceived a certain way, you're not going to meet a woman who actually like, you know, sees you for that person. They're going to kind of, you're tricking them essentially. Right. I realized once I am myself, which like I'm pretty much a weirdo at the end of the day, because I like doing weird stuff. Like on my weekends consist of me going out and trying to forage mushrooms. Like I love foraging mushrooms, chicken of the woods, hen of the woods, all that stuff. And, if I'm not doing that, I'm going to random yard sales looking for art. Like,
nice,
and like,
cool.
Dude,
that sounds fun. That sounds fun.
Going to yard sales and like Goodwill stores and looking for art, and then like, you know, doing things that people would consider weird. I would consider weird, you know. People would be like, oh, it's gay or whatever. And it's like, no, this is cool, man. Like someone took their time and painted this piece, and it looks like it took hours, and someone's selling it for $5. I need this, you know? So I just like, I feel like I was kind of hiding my true identity, trying to be the super tough guy, which you can still be that person in a certain moment. But I really embraced the fact that like, yeah, I am a little weird. Everybody's a little weird, but I'm going to embrace that.
Yeah, man.
A little bit.
I'm 32 years old. I love wrestling.
Yeah, that's great. You watch pro wrestling like all the time?
All the time.
Yeah.
Last night was Friday Night SmackDown.
He's been trying to get me to watch it for years. To, like,
I've
really
converted
get
a
into
couple
it.
friends.
Yeah. I definitely like it more than I did before, for sure.
Yeah. I think I knocked this down. Is it
That's
still
okay.
on?
Yeah, you're good. So the light will turn off.
All right,
on its
cool.
own.
Yeah, you're good.
I'm not here messing things up.
No, you're good. Yeah, here, if you clip it to your, this has like
his volume's going.
This has like a thing on it.
We're good.
Yeah,
We're good.
Do you think that the plant medicine helped you with discovering your real identity?
Totally. Yeah, I think it did. I think
because I feel like there's a lot of like acceptance there, you know.
Yeah,
that's what I heard a lot about ayahuasca.
Yeah, I also think that it made me face my problems, which once I got my problems out of my way, I could become my real self. Yeah. And then, I feel like I don't have to carry myself a certain way. People are going to like me or they're not or whatever. And I don't take it personal. I used to take it personal if people don't like me. And I just wanted to be liked, which is so desperate, right? Like now
I think we all do.
I know,
it's
but
desperate,
like,
but I think we all struggle with that to a certain degree, for sure.
Yeah, I think of this like saying like, don't try, just be, because people are just trying to be somebody all the time. Just be who you are. You're going to end up meeting people that are looking for you, that the person that you truly are. And yeah, I noticed. So, you know, my girlfriend Megan, me and her like instantly clicked, and she was the first girl I've ever been with where I could like just be me, and I felt so comfortable right away, like just pouring everything out, and then like kind of, you know.
You guys have very strong communication.
Oh man, it's insane. We don't even argue.
Yeah.
When we argue, like I was laughing because the last argument we had that was serious was we were trying to stream the UFC fights illegally, and the stream wasn't working because she watches fights too, and she's like, "I'm just going to bed. You're not gonna get it to work," and I'm like, "Stop saying that!" Like, yeah. And I told her, I was like, "That's the first time I ever raised my voice to you was over UFC streams."
Yeah.
And oh man, she's awesome. She's like the best thing that's ever happened to me, to be honest. My life is so much easier. And I work a full-time job besides the gym. So I'm pretty much on the go 40 to 50 hours at my regular job, about 20 to 30 hours here. So you're looking at like 70, 80 hours a week on the go. So I wake up 5:30 in the morning. I get home 10:30 at night. And it's just rinse and repeat. And weekends, we get to see each other a decent amount. She works a full-time job too as a nurse. So when we have that time, even if it's just 20 minutes before we go to sleep or 15 minutes when we're waking up in the morning, or it's a full day, we don't hide anything from each other. Yeah, it's just, and there's no ego whatsoever. And like, there's 100% trust. I've never had that with anyone where it's like, I'll never not trust her. She could do whatever. She doesn't even have to ask my permission to do things. So I'm like, you have my full trust. There's no jealousy. There's nothing. And it's like the perfect relationship. Obviously, I feel like our communication's perfect. Everything else around the relationship needs work. Like everybody, you know, needs to make more money or needs to, but all that's just extra stuff. If you're with somebody that you don't trust, or you're with somebody that you don't really click with, it's destined to fail, or you're destined to be miserable. And I lucked out with her for sure.
Yeah. Do you think, because just the thought of that is like, there's probably not a lot of women out there who are really interested in the UFC. Like, you probably didn't even think that somebody like her, like, obviously you knew that they existed, but like, you think in your head that like, does that person even exist who like is gonna click with me and not judge me and have these common interests and stuff like that? And then now you find yourself like, I didn't even think that this was possible.
Yeah, it's kind of funny because I met her and I was getting ready to go to Las Vegas for like the biggest jiu-jitsu tournament. It's every 2 years, and it's called ADCC Trials in Las Vegas. So I was going there, and I met her like 3 days before or something like that. Maybe a week. She's probably gonna be pissed I got that wrong. But as soon as I met her, you know, she actually started messaging me on Instagram, like, "Oh, good luck at the tournament. Let me know how it goes." And I'm like, this is weird.
Yeah, right.
I'm like a girl sliding in my DM. This is weird, right? And but for whatever reason, we just like clicked that day, and I felt the same way she did. And I started talking to her when I was in Las Vegas. Now here I am in Las Vegas. I'm sober. I don't drink. I don't gamble. So there's nothing for me to do in Las Vegas besides jiu-jitsu. So I'm just like, I would randomly just walk Fremont Street because it's crazy, and I would just be like, oh, I just want to people watch. And I'm by myself too. Yeah. My dad went with me, but like he doesn't do any of that stuff. He's just like in the hotel room hanging out. So I would just, I kept talking to her throughout that whole experience. And after like a day or two of talking to her, I'm like, I'm going to date this chick. I'm out in Vegas. I don't want to do anything besides go home and like hang out with this girl, you know? So it's crazy how that worked out. And then it's been working out ever since. Like,
that's awesome, man. You attract the right people into your life.
Yeah. She makes my life so much easier too. It's crazy.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So I know you wrote a couple questions for us on there as well, and one of them was, what books are you reading? Me and you have actually had this back and forth a couple times. Are there any books that you felt like that you've read in the course of your development that have really stuck with you and like really been big for you? Yeah.
So you know what's funny is I used to read a decent amount, and then I got in this kick of just like buying books, and I have so many books, and I have such bad ADHD. I cannot sit down and read them. I try. I did the Audible thing for a while, which I ended up, you know, listening to a ton of books for like 2 years straight. It was never music and podcasts. It was just Audible. One book that helped me with this and realizing culture, right? That word I keep using, is this book called The Culture Code. which is a really good book about how these high-level teams operate. And they break down a bunch of really cool stuff. Like one of the teams they use is the San Antonio Spurs, right? And I watched basketball growing up, and the San Antonio Spurs, they were like the most winningest team in like a 10-year period, but they didn't have like a ton of talent. Granted, they had Tim Duncan and stuff, but
and they were considered boring.
They were considered boring, and you know what's crazy is all those guys that played on that team were lifelong Spurs. So Tim Duncan, Manu Ginobili, Tony Parker. The only NBA team they play for is the Spurs. Yeah. The Spurs never traded for talent. They never brought in a LeBron. They never brought in a Carmelo. So they were all about being homegrown, and Greg Popovich was big on, you know, getting players from Europe and getting all these different cultures together. And he would do like very unorthodox things, like getting ready for Game 6 of the NBA Finals. They might get eliminated. He cancels practice and makes everybody go bowling. and just hang out. Yeah. He would realize what players didn't get along, and then when they went away to camp, he would make them live with each other. And just like, I read this book, and that was just one portion of the book. They did a bunch of, SEAL Team 6 was one of them. And the first part of the book that made me realize like how important letting go of your ego is, they did this experiment. I forgot exactly how they did it, but it was like you were given, 3 marshmallows, 10 pieces of dried spaghetti, and a rubber band. And you had like X amount of time to build the biggest structure that you can. And they had these different groups. They had lawyers, they had doctors, they had all this. And the team that won was a bunch of 7-year-olds. It was like 5 7-year-olds built the biggest structure because they just worked together. How are we going to build this thing? It was a game to them. Yeah. Everyone else was like, no, I'm in charge. Put the marshmallow here, do this.
Yeah.
And this book, Culture Code, broke down like how a team is supposed to operate, And that book for me was dope. What do you guys got?
I mean, so I have a couple ones. Yeah. Like, for me, right now, I read Change Your Thoughts, Change Your Life Every Day by Wayne Dyer. It's about the Tao Te Ching, and it goes through the 81 verses, and every day I'll just pick a different verse, and it's the verse from the Tao, and then his interpretation of it, and how you can apply it to your life. So that one's been a big one for me, just because I do feel like with the trauma and stuff that I had as a kid, and then with the drug and alcohol problems, I kind of just let my brain write its own narrative. So a lot of, for me, the last couple of years of trying to redevelop myself has been rewiring my brain. So changing the way that I view situations and think about situations has been big. So that's it, that book for that. I mean, I read a lot, and Wayne Dyer is probably the one that always sticks out. The Power of Intention is another one for me. I never really thought about putting intention into everything, not just my run, not just putting intention into my running, but put intention into brushing your teeth, put intention into making the bed, walking the dog, being present and having the intention that I want to be better all the time. So I feel with The Power of Intention by Wayne Dyer, Change Your Thoughts, Change Your Life. And then The Untethered Soul was the first book that I read when I started getting curious about spirituality. And I got to I think it's chapter 2 or 3, and he talks about how your ego wants you to feel comfortable. So it builds you a nice little house, and then it puts everything you need in that house, and then it closes the windows, and now you're just in a box, and this is who you become, and there's no way out. And I bawled my eyes out sitting underneath my parents' deck in a chair, just looking at the woods, reading that book, and I cried my eyes out, and I was like, all right, he was talking about the voice in your head, and he talked about the ego, and I was like, this is all what I'm struggling with, and it all started to become a little bit more clear for me.
Do you think your favorite genre of books is the self-help?
Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah,
so
100%.
Yeah, I even like the self-help books, and then kind of just flipping to one random page and just seeing what I could find in there.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's kind of the genre I enjoy the most, or autobiographies and stuff.
I like memoirs. If it's somebody that resonates with me, that I feel like I can learn something from, I'll Colin Jost isn't not relatable in the stuff we're talking about right now, but a very punchable face. His memoir, I thought that book was amazingly written, and I do like comedy, so the way that he talks about Saturday Night Live and his stand-up career and everything, I found very interesting.
Yeah.
What about you?
A big one, I don't even know if it's necessarily a specific book, but Stoicism became a really big part of my life like a couple of years ago. I read The Obstacle Is the Way.
Yeah.
Actually, I listened to it on audiobook by Ryan Holiday. Yep. Just about like you got to like face yourself and challenge yourself, and that there's power in like facing your fear. And like meditations, like obviously like whatever translation you choose to read. But I feel like I have such a ton of books too, and there's like probably like 7 of them right now that have different bookmarks in them.
Oh yeah.
And the one I'm working on, the one that I like reading the most right now, that I really enjoy picking up, is this book called B. It's called like B period by I think her name is Jessica Zweig. I'll come back to that if that's wrong. I'll write in the notes if I got that wrong. But it's all about building your personal brand as yourself.
Nice.
And as somebody who I've always struggled with, I need to be something different, or I need to be perceived a certain way, or people need to like me for this reason, because I'm the cool bartender, because I'm this, because I'm not saying that I was the cool one, but I was. But just like that, it's as I read it, it's giving me more and more freedom to be that, like, one of the things they say in there is that your vibe will attract your tribe.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that, like...
Yeah, so my jiu-jitsu coach, that was like one of his sayings. You know,
oh, really?
Yeah, Mike Palladino, he always said, like, you know, your vibe will attract your tribe.
Yeah.
He calls his gym EGA Tribe. And
cool.
he might have read something similar.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it came from that.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sure that plenty of people have said that plenty of times. But like, that's helping me right now, because right now I'm really trying to put myself out there and be like, this is who I am. This is the kind of people I want to attract into my life, and that's okay if you don't want to be a part of that.
Yeah, it's funny you said the book's called B, and then earlier I was saying, you know, don't try, just be.
Yep.
And like, I don't even know where I heard
I thought
that.
about it when you said it. Yeah.
I don't even know where I heard that, but
yeah,
another good book I read recently was Green Lights by Matthew McConaughey.
Oh, great book.
Classic.
Great book.
That was a
We've
great
all read that.
book,
Yeah, that one.
So I like a good storyteller too.
Yeah.
Did you do the audiobook on that?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, that's the way you got to go with that one.
So like, whenever it's like a book like that, I have to do Audible. Like, you know, obviously, I'm sure you guys did the Goggins book on Audible. That's good.
I've listened to him on a bunch of podcasts, but I've never read his book.
It's good. Joey Diaz on Audible, tremendous. Yeah, Life of a Comedy Savage. I listened to that one. That one was really good. I like when I can hear their voice telling their story.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Anthony Bourdain, I listened to Kitchen Confidential that way, and it's like,
oh, man.
He like must have done the audiobooks for that and Medium Raw like fairly close to when he passed away. And like, just to be able to like listen to him telling those stories was very, very cool.
That's awesome. Because you feel like you're there, you know? You're almost listening to a podcast, but it's structured so well.
Yeah, and only like they could tell it that way.
Yep.
You know, certain ones like that.
Are there any podcasts besides Aubrey Marcus that you like to listen to?
I mean, the standard Joe Rogan. I love Rogan. I like the comedy podcasts, like Theo Von, Fighter and the Kid.
I love Theo Von, bro.
Oh, dude, Theo's the best.
But like, I think that Theo Von is doing something different, because he's not just comedy. He's a funny guy, but like a lot of his stuff gets very vulnerable.
Yep. I listen to a lot of like the MMA podcasts. I listen to. I'm trying to think. A lot of comedy stuff. Basically, if I listen to a podcast and I like it, I'll kind of just throw it in my queue, and then whenever a new episode drops, I start listening. There's a martial arts podcast called the Black Belt Business Podcast, which has helped me like tremendously. Which is like, whatever, you know, there's a title in the thing, and then they'll say who they have, whatever guest instructor they have. You know, are you going through the summer slump of losing students? And I'm like, fuck, I need to listen to this right now. You know? And then it's like, so sometimes they just call to me, the different podcasts, but sometimes I just want to laugh. And most of the time it's just comedy podcasts for me. Like Theo Von, you're not going to learn anything really.
I mean, it depends. Depends on who he's got on.
But you're going to laugh your ass off.
He had people like Jordan Peterson on there, you know, like. You're
going to laugh your ass off. And so.
Well, yeah, I think what he's doing is so good, because his audience probably isn't geared that way, but they'll listen to him do that and like be vulnerable. Yeah. Versus like the last podcast we were just talking about, I was talking about Sean Strickland. on his podcast. I'm like, yeah, exactly. Even it might not be knowledge, but you learn something.
I know,
right?
man. That was super intense.
Yeah,
to see someone who has that persona be so vulnerable,
and he's like,
was pretty cool.
Yeah, it's like every fighter has a certain type of reputation that they're tough, right?
Yeah.
And then he's like at the top,
yeah.
right? Would you say that?
100%.
And then to see him be like that, like,
and then you hear about his childhood, and you're like, how is this guy not in prison right now, How did he make it out?
Yeah, exactly.
But that was super intense. I actually heard that recently too. I was like scrolling through YouTube and they had that clip, like a 10-minute clip. Mm-hmm. And Theo's kind of funny. He's just like trying to make jokes while this guy's going through it.
What was the one I listened to that Theo's on? That was it was when Tony Robbins was on his podcast. Definitely check that one out.
Okay.
Because that one, like, because you think that when people are famous like that, you think that, or like, they're putting on a facade that they're just only funny or whatever it is, but like, it's cool to see somebody like open up about like, I'm one of the biggest podcasters in the world. Thousands of people come out and see me, but like, I still don't feel good enough.
Yeah.
And I think it's important for, I'll call us regular people to just be like, like having millions of dollars and having super amount of success isn't going to solve your problems and isn't going to make you like yourself anymore.
Yep. 100%.
Yeah.
Have you had anybody in your life, like, it doesn't have to be directly, I'm sure you've had plenty with jiu-jitsu, like people you've met and teachers, but is there anybody in your journey that you feel like has like substantially like pushed you in a certain direction of change?
Yeah, I think there's like so many. I think that every single day when I show up, I have to be a certain person and people are pushing me to be that person. I think my brother is a big help. My original coach, Mike Palladino, Manny, like, I feel like they, at the end of the day, believed in me. And, my dad is a good part of that too. I get a lot of help here, even though I think without all these people that I mentioned and then a ton more, this business wouldn't have survived. Mm-hmm. And not that we're definitely doing well, but I want to go so much further than where I'm at. And the positive affirmations and people like constantly telling me, and I feel like I'm finally myself now and I don't have to pretend. And people come here because they want to train with me. And once you finally have that belief, like, okay, I am this person that I always wanted to be. And people want to be here. And I did create a good vibe and culture. And I am a good coach now. It's all those people that trusted me to be their coach and trusted me with me trying to run this business. They're the ones who really, kickstarted everything and keep it going. Because if I showed up here and then it's just like, there's so many times I didn't believe in myself at all, and I had people around me believe in me. So, there's too many. There's not one particular person, but there's dozens. I feel who I'll have a shit day, and then somebody will just reach out to me and be like, "Yo, just checking in on you, bro. Don't give up." It's funny. There's this There's this one coach. He's from upstate. His name's Fritz. He's a Muay Thai coach. Me and him don't talk that much, but he'll just randomly send me a text like every 2 weeks and be like, "Don't give up, bro. Keep grinding." I'm like, how did this guy know that I needed this?
Right at the right
so,
time.
man, in this community, it doesn't stop. People will continue to push you. And for every one person who has something negative to say, you have 10 people who have something positive to say. So you literally just have to drown that out. There's always going to be drama in every profession. But when you start feeding into it, which is what I used to do, I used to feed into the drama. And I used to be a part of it. And I used to always, be very vocal with how I feel about things. And then now I can kind of sit back and just kind of realize like, now look at the big picture. Like, this is awesome. You're running a gym. People are showing up after a stressful day at work. I have people that, when you run a jiu-jitsu school, you're essentially like, people go to you for a lot of problems and then they'll pitch that to you. And I'm like, bro, I don't have my fucking life figured out at all. Yeah. But I'm starting to appreciate it now. And I'm like, damn, this is part of the gig. Like, you're in the people helping business. So yeah, every single day when I show up here and I have genuine conversations with cool people, that's what really drives me, to be honest.
I get the same thing. Like, people, I feel like sometimes people ask us like, how do you get sober? How do you do this? How do you and I'm like, I can help you, but I'm also just like, I don't have a lot of shit figured out either.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just because like I've figured out like that one thing that I did, like that doesn't necessarily mean like, and I think that gives you a lot of perspective sometimes, because from the outside looking in, we all think that like from the outside looking in, I could look at you and just be like, he's the successful business guy. He's got it all figured out. He's in a happy relationship. Everything's good, right? But we all have stuff going on, right? Yeah. And I think that makes you feel okay. Like when you stop thinking that it's different, or that somebody else, like just because they're in a different position, that their life is better. It's like, no, that's not the case. Like everybody's going through their own thing. And
then like there's no end goal. Like I feel like people want to, like say if my end goal here was 200 students. At 200 students, I'm just going to be that much more busy. So it's not like I'm going to reach this end goal and it's like, boom, I'm done. Because as soon as you reach whatever goal you set, you have to set another goal. Because if I reach that goal and then I just kind of sit back, that's when shit starts to fail. You know, people start to leave. And that's with everything. What if, you know, you're in a relationship with somebody and you're like, oh, we want to make this amount of money a year. And then you reach that and then you realize like, oh shit, that didn't really mean anything. It was cool that I obtained this goal, but there's always something to work towards.
New levels, new devils.
Yep.
Oh, I like that. New levels, new devils.
Yeah.
We got that from my pastor.
Really? Yeah. That's awesome, dude. Damn, I'm stealing that, bro. That's great.
Right? Yeah, that's a good one.
You tell Manny that one, bro?
I think
Manny's got gems, bro.
Say
non-stop.
Yeah.
He always says everybody's on their own journey. That's like his ongoing, like it's a joke. Like whenever somebody says something negative and you feel like drama's about to ensue, he's always like, listen, at the end of the day, everybody's on their own journey. So I'll look up random sayings, and
it is what it is.
I'll see him, and I'll bring up a random saying. Like I said something to him. I was like, Manny, when it's all said and done, make sure more is done than said. And he'll just start laughing. I'm like, yeah, bro, I got some gems too.
Yeah. Start throwing Yogi Berra quotes at him. If you don't go left, you might go right.
It's funny.
Just start speaking in cliches.
New levels, new devils.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah.
Pastor Jim Behringer from Echo Grace Community Church, Washingtonville.
Really?
Yeah.
So what type of church is that?
It's a Christian church.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like
a non-denomination Christian church.
Yeah. So I was never like super into. I was never into religion. Let's rewind that. I was never into religion in my entire life, and like when me and Desiree got pregnant, like. I have been very into spirituality the last couple of years, but like always more in like we'll trust the universe kind of way, and I still feel that way. But Desiree and my sister have been wanting to try going to church, so we went on Christmas Eve, and we've pretty much, I mean, maybe missed like a couple weeks since then, but we've pretty much gone like every week since on Saturdays at 5. It's nice and easy. You go in, we get dinner with my parents for free afterwards. So I'm not complaining. And like I do enjoy spending the family time now. And like my mom goes with us, my sister goes. My dad isn't quite there yet, but he retires May 31st. So maybe June 1st that weekend we'll get him.
Yeah, I wouldn't be able to drag my dad into a church.
I mean, my dad. I think about like if you think about our parents and like when the way that religion kind of was when they were growing up, I feel like everybody was more or less Catholic, and like Catholicism can be very pushy on you and just like this is the way things are. You can, like I very much appreciate going to my church because it's just like there's only the pastor will be the first person to tell you like you don't call anybody here Father because there's only one person worthy of that name.
Yeah, it's so like me and JP can go on and on about Catholic school because what Catholic school is good at doing is ruining religion for you. All the kids that went to Catholic school, nobody's religious anymore because I'm like, damn, it was a very weird experience. And I went, you know, Catholic school from kindergarten to 8th grade. I don't know how many years you were.
My mom was always religious, but I went from 4th grade to 8th grade.
Yeah, and it's. Catholic
but I was homeschooled 2 years before that, so I might as well have been in. Yeah.
Yeah, and then you go.
I was only learning about Matt and James and John.
You go Catholic school right to Newburgh School District. It's a crazy transition.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know. I like the church thing too. I fully support that because like. I tried recently to go back to church. I was going to a Catholic church, and It was cool. I used it as like my hour of meditation. I would go on Sunday, and then I'm like, damn, this is gonna set up a week. Like the whole time I was there, as bad as it sounds, I was kind of just zoning out and thinking about my week, and it was awesome. It was like, you know, mind yoga for me. And then if the priest said something that clicked with me, I'm like, okay, maybe I need to hear that, whatever. But I am spiritual. I do believe in God, and it's kind of like, I don't know where I fall. I would love to go to church, but it would have to be a certain setting. Like what you just said sounds awesome.
I feel like you should. Our church is rebranding to Echo Grace because it was Grace Community Church for a long time, and they're actually having like the first service is June 1st, but May 31st at Thomas Bold Memorial Park. Why am I'm promoting church right now? Thomas Bold Memorial Park. They'll be having like an event all day to welcome new members.
Come see us. Praise be.
It's funny. Thomas Bull Memorial Park is in Beacon, right?
Washington.
Oh, okay.
Is it Washingtonville or is it?
I'm thinking
Montgomery.
I was thinking of a different park. Okay,
yeah,
cool.
whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's
I'm running around Memorial Park tomorrow in a 5K for the dogs.
Nice. Yeah. So I think having faith and like believing in something is super important. And I think like in the grand scheme of things, all religion is good if you follow it the way that's meant to be. And the guidelines of religion is really good for the youth, I feel too. I think that even though we went to Catholic school and it was kind of like whatever, you know, it definitely still gave us some moral values.
But I think part of that is like one of the things that I struggled with religion and things like that is that like it creates this thing where I think you have to be perfect, you know?
Yep.
And
exactly.
that like and I think that.
Oh, that's where that comes from. We've been trying to find out where perfectionism comes from.
I think it comes from a bunch of different. It comes from a bunch of different areas, but I think that's part of it. That it's just like, you can do a whole bunch of good things, but then you fuck up one time, and now that's like what defines you. And as I've gotten older, and other people around me have gotten religious, and I've grown my relationship with my mom, like, because a big dividing point between the two of us was religion. And I always thought that, like, oh, like, not that you don't love me, but, like, I'm not the son that you want because I don't go to church every week, or I'm out doing, you know, and then that spiraled to me being, like, I felt like I went down this path of being the exact opposite of that because I had to prove that, like, I could be a good person and then also just, like, be doing cocaine, like, or whatever it is that makes you a bad person, like being a piece of shit is what him and I basically refer to it as, and that it's not as simple as I do good things so therefore Jesus likes me, and then I do bad things so therefore I'm not good enough for him. And I've learned to just kind of grow a different mindset around it, that like it can be different for everybody, and that there's no like, you know, we talk about like, oh, when you get to heaven, what's God gonna say or whatever, or whatever it is. Just like, oh, well, you only went to church 362 times. You know the number's 400.
It's
you
funny.
know, I don't make the rules, like, you know, and that it can be a different thing for everybody.
And nobody has it figured out. So when you talk to somebody and they're like, no, this is the way, this is the story, this is how it went down, you're like, nobody knows. But I think it's pretty interesting that people our age and older are now like finding faith again. There's a big movement with that. You hear about it a lot in podcasts, but then you see it a lot in people, and it's like, I think they realize that, you know, people our age are having kids now, and they realize the importance of a religion or just faith in general, belief in something, and how that's going to help, you know, the next generation. It's going to help us, because we also see that people that are our parents' age, a lot of them are just super miserable. And it's like, for whatever reason, they grew up in a different era. They grew up in an era where it's like, you have to get this certain job with a 401k, you have to have a family, and you know, you got to just go, grind, because eventually you're going to be able to cash out your retirement, and everyone from here moves to Florida. It's like, you want to go to Newburgh 2.0, it's Florida somewhere. That's where all the old Newburgh people go, and all the people around here in the Northeast go to Florida. And it's like, people are chasing this dream, and then realistically, you could just die tomorrow.
Well, yeah, and I mean, I think that ties into like a bigger thing that just like going somewhere else isn't going to make you a different person. Like, I'm not saying that you can't relocate and change your life, but what is the thing? Wherever I go,
where you go, you come with you.
Or where I go,
I'm still there. Yeah, you know what I mean.
Where you go, there you are. I think is the saying.
I think that's exactly.
Wherever you go, there you are.
It's true though, because you can't just uproot and then become this new person because it's not real.
So grinding for all those years just to retire in Florida is not going to make you happy.
Yeah, it's true.
But like, I also think that, like, going back to the religion thing, that like, I don't think that you can really find like what God means to you without kind of like seeing the God in yourself. And that I don't say that in a way that like an all-knowing one, but like just kind of like the spirit of yourself.
Have you found that with plant medicine? Because I feel like when I did mushrooms were like, yo, you're God, bro. You just have to realize it.
Yeah, you know, like I've also done a lot of mushrooms too. So like, I think for the most part, that made me realize that doing good things feels good. And I'm like, damn, when I put myself out there and I'm actually trying, like, I believe in karma big time. And, you know, obviously a bunch of religions preach that, but it's like, it's true. I think that the universe does align a certain way when you act a certain way and when you handle situations a certain way. I think that, it's just plant medicine killed my anger. I'm just not angry. I can't I can't imagine.
Damn, I definitely got to do it.
Well, like, you know, I definitely get frustrated with things, but I can't imagine a place where I'm walking down the street and I just go get into a street fight with somebody. Like, dude, I would never do that now. Yeah. Ever. Like, if somebody ran up to me and tried to punch me, I would just block it and be like, dude, what are you doing? Like, relax. And me 10 years ago would have just been looking for that. And it's kind of crazy. I think that one thing with people that are miserable is that they enjoy being miserable too, as weird as that is.
They don't even know it.
Yeah, they don't even know that they're comfortable with their misery, and misery loves
being
company.
Happy
Everyone says
feels
that.
Uncomfortable to
them.
them.
And then like, what's really depressing for me is when you hang out with somebody. I was talking to somebody about this recently. I'm not going to give any details here to give it away, but I was talking about how this one guy that we knew just identifies as being depressed. Like, that's his identity. And I'm just like, yo, dude, you're doing good. This, and it's like, nah, I'm a piece of shit. I'm like, all right, well, nah, bro, you're this and that. And nah, you know, I'm always going to be a fucking loser. And you're like, bro, this is your identity. No one's going to want to be around you. You have an aura when you show up in a room and you bring the energy down. And, you know, that's one of these people, the person I'm talking about, I need to have a talk with. So I'm like, dude, this is like, the depressed guy is not cool. Nobody wants to be around the depressed guy.
Well, you don't want to. Yeah, exactly. You don't want to be around. I've been that guy for sure.
Oh yeah, me
Absolutely.
too. I've been the super pessimist, negative guy.
Yeah. And I feel like also like I've realized one of the things that I've done is being that person, and then you know people in your life come and go, and you use that as a way to like measure if they want to be in your life or not. Like if you want to continue being this like depressed loser, or not even necessarily being that, but telling yourself that that's what you are, and then measuring that. If somebody sticks around and likes me for that, or will still help me when I'm like that, then that means they really care.
Yeah.
But really what they're looking at is like, you're not helping yourself.
Yeah. And then some people are attracted to that, not like the depressed loser, but they're attracted to this person that they could try to fix too. Whether it's in a friendship or a relationship, and it's kind of like people need to fix themselves. There's no, you know, it's never gonna work out that way.
Yeah, you'll never find somebody else's key.
Right? No,
you cannot,
100%.
You cannot motivate somebody else and get them going.
Yeah, and it's like such a game changer when you align yourself with people that like call you on your bullshit and want the best for you, and then like are brutally honest, whether it's friends, like I said, relationship, family. It's when you see somebody and you know that you need to tell them something, I feel like when you just let them be and you're like, oh, it's just the way they are. Well, no, they're going to be like that now because there's nobody checking them. And it's draining having those people around. I can't do it. Like I refuse to hang out with people who aren't like at least mostly positive. I don't want to hang out with someone and be like, oh, fucking, we got no money. This sucks. Like, just keep that shit far away from me. 100%.
I feel like, especially, did you find now, because I feel like I've had it happen, and I'm sure you have too, where like because you've changed, there are people that like you can tell they're kind of on the fence and like they want to make that change, but like
oh yeah, totally,
they keep coming for advice but they don't heed any of the advice.
I have somebody in mind.
How
too.
do you deal with that?
I have a friend who we've been friends for a long time, and he's like, he'll hit me up and be like, yo, you gonna come out and have a drink, or you still doing that sober thing? And I'm like, bro, nah, I'm good. And then it's constantly like, you know, people hit me up, yo, I'm gonna come check out your gym, bro. Like, I need it in my life, come by. And then just nothing. And I'm like, dude, I'm not trying to steal your money. Like, come here and experience like it for yourself. Come try a free class, see if you like it, see if you meet some cool people, see if you find some motivation on the mats. It's like, yeah, there's people that I just can't be friends with anymore, unfortunately. And no hard feelings. I honestly like feel for them because they choose to just be, you know, miserable.
Yeah.
And yeah, luckily right now I have a solid group of friends, and then just students, training partners, just people that I'm really cool with, and we really build each other up, you know?
Yeah, man, that's awesome.
Yeah, that's great to hear that. Yeah, you've certainly built something amazing here.
For sure.
Yeah.
We're getting there every day. Every day it's something.
Yeah. But that's part of it, you know?
Yeah.
That's the price you pay for...
Everybody's on their own journey.
Yeah. I was waiting for it.
That's where you got to drop it, you know? Everyone's on their own journey.
Yeah.
So another one of the questions that you had written down for us that I'm curious about you, we can both answer it as well, but what's something that you would tell yourself 10 years ago?
Oh, man.
Something from now that you would just be like...
Just stop trying to be the tough guy. Just be who you are. Be weird. Be the person that you really are deep down inside. And then also, like, you know, you're not going to attract the friend group. You're not going to attract the people in your life that you really want around unless you are that person. People are dying to have authenticity in their friends, in their relationship. And I would say that's the number one thing. Just be authentic. Be authentically you, as you know, corny as that sounds.
Yeah, no.
Everything's corny if you think about it.
Like, but I would say
everyone's on their own journey, bro.
Exactly.
If I were to talk to myself, my like younger self, I'd just be like, just be you. Don't put on this facade for anybody. Like, just be who you want to be. And I feel like that's very. We all just want to fit in so much when we're younger. And then as you get older, you're like, how the fuck can I be so different from these people? Like, how can I be more different?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think what I would say is don't be so afraid. You know? Like, put yourself out there. Say that thing that you want to say. In a lot of ways, similar to like, be the person that you are. Don't be afraid of losing people for being authentically yourself.
And fuck what everybody else thinks about you too.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I would tell myself, like, be more curious about who you are versus, like, quite frankly, like, self-loathing of like, why am I not like this? Why do I not have that? Why aren't things? Why do I always think the grass is always greener? You know. I think
grass is greener where you water it.
Yes.
Oh man, it's the best.
It's gonna be a good episode.
It's true though. All these one-liners are true. It's funny. It's how you
true.
interpret it.
Yeah, it's true.
I mean, I keep going back. There was questions that like we wanted to ask you, but I feel like a lot of the questions that you wrote down to ask us are actually like super good questions.
Yeah. We're like, we should ask him these.
Well, there was another one that I wanted to ask you.
Yeah, I mean, like, is there anything you want to ask us before we start to wrap up?
Hold on.
Okay.
So you guys have almost been here for a year now. What was your favorite moment so far from this first year of business?
Oh man, it's gonna sound hilarious, but my favorite moment was one time I showed up before class and I was fucking exhausted, and I had the couch that was over here. I had it right by that window, and I locked the door, threw the AC on, and I just took a nap. And I had my feet up on the couch, and I was like, I fucking did it. This is it. Like, I'm taking a nap in my own place. That, as dumb as that sounds, that was like a moment where I was like, damn, I could cry right now. This is fucking crazy.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man.
That's amazing,
yeah. And just something that like simple, bringing you that much joy is awesome.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. There's a bunch of other moments too. Man, it seems like I have a moment every week where I'm like, this is real. And like, I'm trying to think of the word, but what's the word where like, I'm gonna mess it up. But anyways, basically like you try to perceive yourself a certain way. There's like this complex, they call it, where I had that big time, where, you know, I was afraid of people believing in me in a way. And I'm so dumb because there's a word for it exactly. But yeah, pretty much every single week when I come in here, there's moments where I have heart-to-hearts with people all the time. Like people show up here with problems and they bottle it up. And then before you know it, you're on the mat for an hour fighting for your life. Somebody's trying to choke you. And then, you know, we go in the back, like people go in the back and change. And as they're leaving, they start talking to me and they want to talk. And I'm like, dude, this is awesome. This is what I'm here for. There's many moments like that. Like, you know, there's been times here where I've been by myself just thinking about what this place is and what it's going to be. And like, you know, borderline like shedding a tear thinking about it, right? There's been times like that. But yeah, there's seeing my brother show up here to teach Sunday class, you know, with his woman on the mat, his two twins in the playpen in the corner, crawling and like he's teaching class, you know, he's doing the drills, he's making sure the kids are good. I'm just like, damn, this is like the vision I had. Like literally we're going to be raising families on the mats. Like that's insane to me. So I would say those two moments. One awesome. That's really powerful with my brother being here with his family on the mats. One with me taking a fucking nap on the couch. But those two in particular were awesome, like two moments where I'm like, damn, this is awesome.
Yeah.
Are there anything else you wanted to ask us that we didn't use on you?
No, man, this was an awesome conversation. I feel like we got to hang out now.
Sure. I would actually be very interested in coming and taking a class.
Yeah,
so I've never done it before.
If you did, I would suggest Thursday night, Manny's class.
Okay.
You're not going to get thrown into a war right away. You're just going to be chilling. Or Friday night, we have open mat from 6 to 8, where it's literally just the mats are open. People are hanging out. It's just a chill sesh, but people are there rolling too. Those are two. But if you go to Manny's class, you're going to be like, damn, this dude is good. He breaks it down.
Yeah.
Shout out to Manny. I threw him out like 10 times, you know?
Yeah, he's the guy, man. He really is, though.
But yeah, my question is, what is your guys' next big goal? Not just necessarily with the podcast, but with life in general. Like, what's a goal you're trying to reach that might seem crazy right now, but maybe a 5-year plan, 10-year plan? Where do you see yourself? It's kind of a loaded question. I feel like there's a lot to it.
I mean, it's a great question.
Yeah.
I feel like you gotta, anything that takes you a little bit of a second to think about.
Yeah.
For me, I'd like to just like, for the next year goal, like to really capitalize on the opportunities that I'm given working in real estate, but just to like really like enjoy being a dad and like really taking in that first year being a dad and what that's like. Because I literally said it to the guests that we had on Wednesday when we did our interview that like, I think everything that I've been through, especially since I've become like present of the decisions I make and the choices and the actions that I have, like everything has led me to her getting here. Like when she gets here, like this was all for that, so I can be the best version of myself for her. And like,
how awesome is that you're already on your way before she gets here? How many people like have a kid and then now it's like that's their come to Jesus moment or whatever, you know, just it's kind of funny that you already were building towards that and then the universe gave you that.
Yeah, man.
That's
sobriety.
amazing.
That's crazy.
It's amazing,
Our
right?
sobriety is insane.
Now imagine if you were expecting a kid while you were in the midst of like drug use or whatever.
It would have been a miserable.
Oh yeah, you would have. Yeah. Now you're looking forward to it. And it's amazing. That's what makes the best parents.
Yeah. So I'm looking forward to that, and we've got some things planned for the podcast, so I'm very excited to see how they take shape and how it changes the dynamic of what we do and just bringing more insights to people. It was great to have you on because like we had Joey who talks about karate, we had you talking about a different type of martial arts, but it's not even about that. It's about your experience. You have your experiences that you're an expert on, and there might be somebody listening to this that has an experience that's similar, and like us being able to take that knowledge from you to give it to somebody who it can help. I think watching it, seeing us get better and better at that and continuing to do it will be something that I look forward to a lot.
I listened to Joey's podcast too when he was talking about how teaching like children martial arts, kids martial arts is helping him so much now with fatherhood. And I was like, damn, there's, we're all building towards something and we don't even realize it.
Yeah.
When I heard that, I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
I haven't seen him in years, man. He's cool.
Honestly,
Honestly,
a
a lot.
lot.
he'll still kick somebody in the head though.
That's
the thing.
That's his whole thing.
Yeah.
He's a lot calmer. He's a lot calmer.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
But yeah, I kind of like, I love catching up with people from when I was younger because we're all so different now.
Yeah.
And just seeing people in passing is one thing, but like sitting down and having this conversation it's awesome.
Yeah.
What about you, man? I'm excited for it.
I definitely I would say number one thing is I'm really excited for where we're taking this thing. We don't want to reveal too much just yet, but we're really starting to put some, this is our 64th episode, whatever, in the 60s, whatever we end up releasing it. And we've put a lot of time and consistency into it, and I'm really excited for the next chapter of what we're going to do. But for myself, I think right now my goal is to, I try not to be so focused on what can happen right now and look at that 5 to 10 years. And I think about right now what I'm trying to do is build my own business for videography and production and photography and things like that. And I think that the thing I've realized the most is that I've always thought that it was supposed to be all on my own shoulders. You talk about all the people who have helped you get to this point. And there's plenty of people who have supported me and helping with my work and stuff like that. And I think what I'm focused on right now is I want to collaborate with people who are like-minded, and I want to be around people who have similar goals in that direction. So I think that for a long time I was super focused on I need to be making something that's better, that looks better, that gets more views or whatever it is. And now I find myself more focused on I want to create stuff that I'm passionate about with people in the room who, whether they know more than me or not, because I think that we talk about it even related to the podcast too, which is that these moments where we have these conversations or something big happens for us, it wouldn't feel the same if it was just me.
Yeah.
And what I think I've realized is that you can kind of build a community about anything.
It feels good to build somebody up with you too.
Yeah,
it really does.
And to also, I think a big goal of mine in terms of that is to be able to kind of share my story of how I felt like an imposter for so long. And how.
So that's what I was thinking, imposter syndrome. That's the word. Remember, I was like, I can't.
Okay.
There you go. Perfect.
Right.
Full circle. Yeah, imposter syndrome. Okay.
Yeah.
There you go. I was kicking myself for that one.
Yeah, where you feel I feel like I've always thought that what I could offer was a skill with a camera or with editing or stuff like that. But now I'm realizing that I want to be able to share my story because where I'm at now and where I hope to be has very little to do with skill. It has more to do with trying to conquer how you feel about yourself. Yep. So I think that's something I'm trying to push towards, which is your story matters and can help other people. And we oftentimes think about the people who are way ahead of us. And it's just no, I'm not helping Joe Rogan create a better podcast. But there are plenty of people who were super scared just like we were, who just need that little bit of push, or somebody's story can help that.
Yeah.
I think that's where, I know that's kind of a very, I guess, vague vision or goal.
No, that's fine though.
I think that's what I'm pushing towards.
Yeah. So we have a question that we ask all the guests at the end of the podcast. JP, this is your thing now.
Yeah, we're gonna have to reword it.
I didn't like the way that I worded it. The whole couple times I did it.
So him and I were both big on Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. A lot of good knowledge in there, and the thing that we gained the most from, I think, was kind of building a council of people, whether they're people who you know personally in your real life who are super close to you, or people that you look up to. They can be fictional, whatever it is. When you're looking to make a tough decision, or you're questioning what the right move is for yourself, and you're looking for some guidance or advice, if you had to build like a council in your head of like 3 to 5 people who are who help you make those decisions that you feel like would not only guide you in the right direction, but would guide you in the right direction of who you are specifically. Who are some of those people? I think like we kind of already asked this question already. But,
no, but I'm gonna throw you for a loop, and I'm gonna do like people from the past. I'm gonna do celebrities. I'm gonna do people I know. It's gonna be so if we're thinking 5, right?
Sure.
I'm gonna throw.
You can do more than 5 if you want.
I'm gonna throw my brother.
Yeah.
This is gonna be like 5. I'm picturing 5 people around a campfire right now.
Nice. Yeah.
The opposite
That's
of.
That's actually what we should do.
Yeah.
We should make the conversation like if you could build an ideal campfire conversation.
It's like the opposite of Nightmare Blonde Rotation, right?
Yeah.
It's the opposite.
Dream, that's what it's made into. It's just Dream Blonde Rotation. Dream Blonde Rotation, because then people would be like,
I'm gonna go with my brother.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go Mike Tyson.
Nice.
I'm gonna throw my girlfriend Megan in there. I should have said her before Mike Tyson, but that's fine.
That's not a ranking.
Yeah. Let's go. Oh man, I'm trying to think. Decision making. Oof. All right, so I got 3. Let me think. I'm trying to think in history right now.
Oh, okay.
Oh man. I'm gonna throw Ronald Reagan in there. A wild card. We'll go with a wild card there. And then, number 5. Let's see. This is tough. I'm gonna go Greg Popovich.
Okay.
So 5 very different people.
Yeah.
But that would be awesome. I don't know how Mike Tyson's gonna talk to Ronald Reagan, but regardless, we'll cross that bridge when we get there.
That'll help you.
Those 5 people.
Yeah. Pop's just gonna have your brother doing layup drills. Just like heritage. We gotta stop fighting. We gotta go down to the gym.
Yeah. Dude, it's funny. I think about this all the time.
Lighting schools up for like 40
points.
Dude.
He was a maniac. Yep.
Yeah.
But that was just like, 5 random people. But I'm thinking people if I want to have a conversation with in history, and it's just or people that actually know.
I do feel like we've talked about it a lot, that like we need to figure out a better way to word it, because kind of what we want is the answer that you had, which is kind of like random, versus like I said, like
you ask a lot, and you can tell because like we knew you were gonna say your brother because he's been brought up. Like, we normally hoax all of that out of somebody, and then ask the question at the end. So like the way you did it was
I could have plugged and played a few people, but my brother has to be in there, my girl has to be in there, those 2, because like one is gonna support me no matter what, which is my girl. My brother is gonna probably shit on me right away, but then I'm gonna realize what he said was right. After like months. I'm gonna be like, damn, he kind of put me in my place, but he was kind of right about this situation. And then I'm just like, damn, what does Mike Tyson think about this? It has nothing to do with anything, but I'm just like, I'm thinking of people that I would want to talk to in history.
Yeah, like we haven't actually said any, but I'll give you one. Phil Dunphy would be on mine.
Oh,
right
nice.
Now from Modern
Yeah.
He's a great dad. He's a good real estate, and it's funny.
There you go. Who do you got? What's one of yours?
Oh boy. I'll go Gary V.
Oh yeah,
Gary V. He would always be on there because I think that his attitude and the way that he views things of like just try. Like
I find it funny when people try to shit on him. Like that's like an ongoing joke now with Gary V. But I'm like, dude, I listen to his stuff and it's fucking awesome.
Yeah,
it is.
Not on live shopping. Get on there. 6 years. It's gonna be the biggest thing.
I see parody videos where they're like, how old are you right now? And the guy's like 63. He's like, you're fucking young. He's like, you can be anything. You got 30 years. You can not work for 20 years and then you can still make it happen. And it's like, I get the parody. It's funny.
Of course.
But he brings up some points. He'll tell people like, oh, I don't know what to do with my life. And then he talks to them, they're 21. He's like, you got fucking 10 years of fucking up and you can still make it happen.
Yeah.
And it's true.
It's a very important message that a lot of people don't get, like that you can sort of start at any time. Like, just picked a career at 32. Like he just decided, like I should really dive into what I want to do at 32. Like
I started this at 31. So it's like, it's crazy too because the amount of like careers that I had and the amount of times, not really careers, but I've had these jobs that could have gone somewhere. And the amount of jobs I turned down is crazy. Cause like, I remember when I was taking like civil service exams and stuff. So I'm like, I just need to get one of these jobs. I remember when correction officer called me and they were like, you know, are you ready to go, all this? And I was like, fuck no, I'm not doing that, dude. I'd rather do any job. I don't care if they paid I don't care if they paid me $1 million. Every like CO I know is miserable. Yeah. And I'm like, dude, working 80 hours a week and all this shit. I'm like, hell no. And then
it worked like 120 in that facility.
Yep. I was gonna go work for US Customs. I was gonna stay in the military. I was gonna do the cop thing at one point. And then I was just bouncing around all these different ideas and nothing stuck. And then I'm like, I'm looking for what was looking for me type of thing, right? Jiu-Jitsu was looking for me. So like, it's a Mac Miller song too. 2009 by Mac Miller. It's like my favorite song of all time. Yeah. But looking for what was looking for me. And it's kind of like, I'm glad that I decided to pursue this business at this age now. Because I wouldn't be able to do it when I was 20 something years old because I was a totally different person. Yeah. I would just try to open a gym with a meathead culture and just try to like, you know, I would be the worst businessman. I'm not the best businessman at all. Like I enjoy the process of being here. I don't enjoy the business end, which I need to get a lot better at. But this is the perfect time for me to do what I'm doing in life. So,
but recognizing that like you can't just have a place where people come and wrestle each other all day long without getting your taxes done, making sure the AC's on or whatever.
Yeah. So all the things you mentioned, it's like, I'm jumping through all this right now.
Exactly. But like, you have like it's just reality. It's just like none of us have, or not, I shouldn't say none of us, but like most of us don't have the resources that you need to get started where you can just put that on somebody else.
I also, exactly, very true. And I also have like insane ADHD, and then I just put off problems.
Yeah.
Like, I can't tell you how many times I've had something where I'm like, I really need to open that letter and see what that says. Nah, Central Hudson can wait. And I'm like, oh shit, I got to pay Central Hudson this amount. Yeah. So it's like things like that happen where I can't sit still and do something. Mm-hmm. I get so distracted. And,
and now like if you sat down, like I could have, the things that I've been procrastinating on in my business probably could have been done
in one day, right? It's
or a week even, and it's been months.
Oh, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
And it's like, if you start checking things off the list, you start handling things as they come. Like, so there's conversations that I needed to have with people that I waited forever, and then all this turmoil built up. And then I'm like, damn, I sat down and talked with this person. I should have done this a year ago. We think the same. It's just that this person perceived me a certain way and I perceived them a certain way. And the truth is directly in the middle. And that's why, being like handling problems right when they happen and not letting them build, noticing that is a big issue.
I've talked about it. I've mentioned this kind of over a bunch of times on this podcast, that it's just like, oh, no. Like, I can't get anything done today. I've got that phone call.
It's so true.
I got to spend this whole time thinking about how that phone call is going to go. God forbid I get anything else done.
It's crazy, isn't it? And it feels so good to check things off the list, but getting going is so tough.
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, I need a coffee. I need 2 Zins. I got to get in my car and get going. Yeah. And then I'm like, all right, where am I going? Like, what's the first step? What's my list I'm checking off? And then meanwhile, like, I used to make a list, and it was hilarious. I would make like 10 things I need to do today. I would check off 2, and then it would be like the next day, 8 things I need to do today. And I'm like slowly hitting it.
Now there's 2 other things you need to do. Yeah.
And it's funny how procrastination works.
Okay, great. Yeah, exactly.
So before we wrap this up, this is your time right here. Go on, look at that camera. Classes you offer, when days you open, everything you guys got going on.
All right, so like you guys probably know by now, I'm Nick Spencer. I'm the owner and operator of Snake Hill Jiu-Jitsu. We're located at 50 Vineyard Avenue in Highland, New York. We offer martial arts. So we offer Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu for adults, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu for kids, and Muay Thai kickboxing for adults. Classes are Monday through Friday during the evening. Kids classes are at 5 o'clock. Adult classes are at 6 and 7:30. And then we also have Sunday classes, which are at 11 and 1. Free trial. So I allow people to come in here, try a class, sometimes a class or 2 for free, see if they like it. We're not big on pressure sales. We're not big on huge, long contracts. We want people to show up because they want to be here. And yeah, come check us out. Come check out the vibe. See if it's for you. If it's not, that's fine. But yeah, show up with a good attitude, meet some cool people, and learn some real martial arts.
Yeah,
that's it.
Yeah, man. Thank you so much for doing this. We appreciate it.
Thank you for welcoming.
This was fun. This is really fun, man.
Yeah, I really do look forward to I think we should just hang out sometime.
Yeah.
Still fishing.
Right?
A lot of
Yeah, let's go.
Yeah, man.
All right,
Awesome, bro.
Thank you.
All right. My hand's probably sweaty, but
Nah.
I saw you wiping your eyebrows. I'm like, you're dying over here, dude.